The deadline for filing nomination papers has been established as Tuesday, June 18th, so that's a 2-week window. We'll have packets for the potential candidates ready. Tomorrow in the clerk treasurer's office, so they'll have, in essence, 2 weeks to get the required number of signatures. The recall election or recall primaries if necessary, will be Tuesday, July 16th. And then the recall elections for any officers in which a primary was required and no candidate received more than 50% of the votes in the primary, that election or those elections potentially will be Tuesday, August 13th.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, and again, correct me if I'm wrong. So if there are 3 candidates and one of them receives more than 50% of the votes in the primary, do they win automatically?
That's considered a general election win then, yes. And there is no general election in that particular office. Okay. So it's a little bit different quirk as far as recalls go.
So essentially then we could have, if we have 2 of these districts that have 3 candidates, one of them candidates all get around 30%, and in the other one there's one that gets 50%. We could have a general in one and not a general in the other. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's a little confusing and will be confusing, and we'll try to eliminate as much confusion as possible. Yes, potentially we could have a general election and a primary election on July 16th. A general in some districts and a primary in some districts.
And then there could maybe be one more that carries over into August.
There could be several that carry over. That's correct.
1 or 2.
And that's not something we can change. That's up to the state.
So that's a state election standard then for a procedure like this.
Exactly. When this whole thing started, I asked them in the beginning, can we keep them together to cause less confusion, make it a little easier for ourselves as well? And they said, no, you can't really do that. And I said, well, that could lead to primaries on one day and finals or general elections on the same day. And they said, yes, it could.
So that's what we're dealing with here then. So again, candidates can begin picking up those packets on Wednesday, correct?
Tomorrow, yes.
Yeah, tomorrow, and then
here at the clerk treasurer's office.
And then they're going to be due again in 2 weeks.
2 weeks, yep.
So
they'll need 20 to 40 valid signatures from within their district.
So is there anything else that folks should know then about this recall right now?
No, we're just going to try to keep people informed as much as possible, and again, we'll decide on a method of paper ballots or using the electronic optical scan. We'll decide that next week, I guess.
All right, appreciate the time. And then, so you got what you wanted, I guess is one way to put it. You got the recall scheduled and you've got these dates marked down, I'm guessing, right?
Well, truthfully, no, we don't have what we wanted yet. We're on the way. And I guess as far as speaking on behalf of the recall committee, yes, we have got what we wanted, which is to restore the voice to the people. And from here on out, it is up to the people to get out and vote. Because if you don't vote, you get what you deserve in the end. And if you don't keep involved and watch what's going on and pay attention, this is the stuff that goes on, and you've got to be involved.
Absolutely. And so nominating papers go out tomorrow on Wednesday, and it's to my understanding you do have candidates in just about every district
That's
already,
a correct statement, yes.
Okay, so then I guess from your perspective on this, I mean, what is your job from here on out for the next couple of months?
From here on out, between now and the election, our job is just really to kind of wrap up what we've done, to kind of strategize about, okay, what are we going to do? We're not going to be directly involved with the candidates' campaigns. That's up to them to get themselves elected. They have to run on what they're going to bring to the table, and that is up to them to do. And our job, I guess, will be to continue to be a watchdog on what's going on at City Hall between now and then. And regardless of who gets in, who gets elected, who doesn't get elected, we've seen change take place already, which has been good. And we will continue to push for that change regardless of who is in office, because there needs to be transparency and there needs to be more open communications as to what is going on in our city government.
So do you have a goal in mind then with this? What will be success by the time mid-July or potentially mid-August rolls around? I mean, you know, you're going for 5, 3 out of 5, 4 out of 5. I'm guessing you're hoping for all 5.
Well, it'd be
correct?
great to have 5 out of 5, but we're realistic and know that that's a possibility that might not happen. I don't know. And like I said, regardless of who is in office when this is over, we will continue to be watching to see what goes on, because we've gotten complacent, and that's part of how we ended up where we are today. And I think Mark Bars would just as easily say as I and as other members of our committee, yeah, if you're not paying attention, it's bound to happen. And so if we don't continue to be watching and monitoring, it won't take long for it to creep in again.
I know there's a lot. I've looked at the website, and there's a lot of grievances, if you will, for lack of a better term. What are the 2 biggest things, 1 or 2 biggest things that are driving this
Grievances on behalf of the recalls website and the
recall?
recall committee?
Yeah, the recall committee.
Okay, well, obviously the 2 biggest ones were that 7.4% tax increase, which they said didn't really happen in the city, although it did if you look at the city tax portion of it. And the council had approved a 3% tax increase. They could have remedied that. They didn't have to let that 7.4% go through. They could have remedied that. They could have found a way to offset some of that, but they chose not to. And the other grievance was we filed over 150 complaints to that very concern that, we had a financial director who made a mistake, and this is the result of it. And we had a city administrator who oversees her, and this was the result of it. And to date, we have really heard nothing about what has happened with those 150 complaints about these 2 individuals. So those are our 2 biggest grievances, is accountability and transparency, and, working for the people.
Anything else that you'd like us to know then from your perspective before we let you go?
I guess all I can say is it's very easy to become complacent. It's very easy to take things for granted. Don't do it. Being able to vote, being able to be involved in what goes on in your community is not only a privilege, it's something that you should step up and do whenever you have the opportunity to. I mean, I don't envy these gentlemen who are at council. It's not an easy job. I absolutely know it's not an easy job, because you will never please everybody all the time. That's understandable, but it is an important job, and just because you have that job doesn't give you the right to walk over the people you represent.
All right.